YOLO, Diamond Hands, HODL, to the moon, to the moon. Let's talk GameStop, Rise of the Players. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass, and today I'm going to talk to you about GameStop, The Rise of the Players, which is a new documentary about the crazy GameStop stock situation that happened about a year ago. The film is coming at the years on January 28th, 2022, which according to the film is the 1-year anniversary of the meteoric rise of the GameStop stock. I've seen the film, I really liked it. I've got my Banjo-Kazooie controller holder, and I'm ready to talk GameStop. So I guess the first thing I should say is I guess I'm a GameStop shareholder, so take that for what it's worth. It didn't affect my opinion of the film. I don't have enough GameStop shares to really make it matter, but just throwing it out there. So my hot take on GameStop Rise of the Players is I really liked it. I thought it was a pretty good film. I liked the focus on the people involved, kind of the nucleus of this kind of crazy situation. I liked how it recreated that insane couple days. Both times that the GameStop stock really kind of shot up. I thought it did a really good job of doing that, and I thought it was interesting. It kind of explained this world and some of the things that were happening in a very easy to follow and kind of humanizing way. So my recommendation would be to watch it. I thought it was pretty good. So I'm going to talk to you a little about the film, a few things I liked and a few things I didn't like. In GameStop Rise of the Players, so the film focuses on this nucleus of people that were preaching GameStop as a potential stock and kind of as a buying position early on. There were, I think, like 9 people that kind of came in and out of this world, and all bought and were interested in GameStop shares for very different reasons. And each of them kind of independently came to this conclusion that GameStop was a potential stock. And then they all rallied behind this person whose channel was Roaring Kitty, who is this really likable, mild-mannered person that was just fun to hang out with, and also had this strange obsession with GameStop stock. And he kind of drew everyone together. Everyone kind of gathered on his channel, and that's where they kind of exchanged information about the stock and about their thoughts and about what they thought their position would be. And then eventually in January 2021, that stock just took a giant rise for lots of reasons that are kind of explained in the film. It shot up like crazy, and it was this insane couple of days. There were all these events that happened that caused people to think that there was some big conspiracy. Maybe there was. The film kind of gets into it, but in any event, this film has a really good buildup, focuses on the meteoric rise, and then the kind of the second rise of GameStop, and then focuses a little bit on what the aftermath. And so I thought it was a really good film. I really liked it. I think it does a good job of framing this whole scenario and does it in an interesting way. So the first thing I really liked, and I mentioned already, is the focus. The film focuses on the people that were originally involved in the initial stages of the GameStop evangelism. Like, these people all came to GameStop for very different reasons, and they all independently got this idea that GameStop was a good stock to buy, and they all kind of banded together and formed a community. And I thought that was a really smart way to do it. You get to see the human element and the emotional side of some of these people's stories. Like, you get to see why they liked GameStop, why they, what nostalgia they had for GameStop, or why, whether they came to it from like a cold investor viewpoint, or whether they came to it from like I loved going there when I was a kid, and I think it might have some potential. I really like this. I thought it really let you latch onto the emotional side of this, and by focusing on the people themselves and their stories. And then also, this entire saga was such an emotional roller coaster that I think focusing on the emotion is probably the way to go. Like, if it would have focused more maybe on like the numbers or kind of the ideas behind the stock market, which it did to have that information, but I think the film mostly focused on the people and their relationships and kind of how this entire scenario affected their lives and brought them together. I think that was the right way to do it, because it really gives you the viewer an emotional connection to the situation as well. I think this focus was pretty smart. It reminded me a little bit of another video game related movie I loved called Indie Game Movie, which did a similar situation. It talked about the indie game market and kind of the rise of indie games, but focused on a few indie game developers and their story. And I think this film, it's not exactly the same, but it has a similar idea, right? You focus on this GameStop stock and the kind of craziness that happened by focusing on the people that were involved in some of the early stages of the evangelizing the stock. And so I think that was a really smart move overall, and I think it made it for a much more engaging film. The second thing I really loved were the players, the players, the people that were involved in this GameStop scenario, because they were all very different. It was really interesting to see, like, if you were casting a movie and you're like, hey, let's get like a very different cast of people from different backgrounds and diverse ideas and get them all together, it would kind of be this. I mean, there was very different people who all came together for very different reasons. Some had nostalgia for GameStop as a company. Some just thought, hey, this looks interesting. I've looked at some of their numbers and I think they're undervalued. We should keep going. The whole group was kind of this very different set of unique personalities that were fun to hear. And the film gave nice kind of chunks of time to each person to let you kind of see what their motivation was and also get to see some of their personal situations as this was going on. Like, some people had very real financial concerns when GameStop started to rise. And I bet the desire to sell was very high for some of them. And so that kind of, a concern and a motivation really gives you a little bit more insight into how this affected their lives. And also, another thing I really liked is partway through, I was like, well, I want to hear the other side. I want to hear from a short seller, because the GameStop saga was kind of this David versus Goliath. We have, I guess, the hedge funds who were short selling GameStop, and all these, they call them retail investors, like small investors who were buying GameStop in order to kind of squeeze the short sellers and force the stock higher. And partway through, I was like, well, I like hearing all these people, but I want to hear from someone who was on the other side. And eventually they did have someone talk about that. And he was interesting to hear as well. So I liked that they also brought in a short seller to kind of balance the viewpoints. I mean, it's still very one-sided. I mean, the movie's called GameStop Rise of the Players, so you kind of know the focus. But I did like that they had that other view as well and kind of gave it a more balanced overall picture. And the last thing I really loved is the craziness. I mean, the actual days when GameStop was shooting up 400%, 500%, the crazy days when that was happening were wild. Like, if you were in Wallstreetbets, there were memes everywhere, there were crazy posts, there were all these conspiracy theories, there were all these thoughts on how high could it go. And the film, I think, does a pretty good job of capturing that mania and some of the kind of hysteria that happened. It has some when that event happens, it has some good music, it has a ton of memes, it has a ton of like news stories talking about the craziness, and it really does a good job of kind of compiling all of that into this montage of insanity that really kind of defined those days. Things I didn't really love, I guess, there really wasn't much. I guess maybe I kind of wish I knew a little bit more about the financial side of this, but that completely contradicts what I said. I really love how they focus on the players. I think, me personally, I was interested maybe a little bit more in the financials, but I think that the film is a smart move by not digging too deep into that. That could become very dry. So, I mean, I guess I will probably do my own reading, but if there was any criticism, that was it. But really, there wasn't really much I didn't like about this film. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it did a good job of presenting this issue. And it also had these, it had a lot of like gaming references. So I guess that's like the fourth thing I liked, is all the gaming references. I mean, look, the movie is a movie about GameStop. And so you expect gaming references. And it was like gaming slash 16-bit era type stuff, but it had a lot of nice small touches. It had each of the players, the characters that were involved, had this like 16-bit-ish representation of themselves that would come in and out, so you could see them in this like video gamified way. There were a lot of like classic video game sounds. There were a lot of classic video games featured, talking about GameStop, of course. And so I really liked how it leaned into that. I mean, you kind of have to for a movie that is about GameStop and this rise, but I really liked how they fully embraced that and really kind of brought that to the front. So that is GameStop Rise of the Players. It's coming to theaters on January 28, 2022. I think it's a pretty good film. I really liked it. If you have any interest in the story or kind of the situation that happened, I think you should definitely go out and see it. And if you haven't, just a passing interest in the stock market or some of the craziness that happened, I mean, I think it'll be an enlightening film as well. So definitely check it out in theaters on January 28, 2022. If you're not comfortable going to theaters, I'm sure it'll come to digital sooner or later. But either way, you should check it out. And so thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please help my subscriber count go to the moon and like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And check out my other content. I've got other reviews, interviews, unboxing videos, and recommendations. Thank you.